Welcome to IPR Radio. I am Sanjay Mukherjee. In this episode, we speak to Ms. Anupa Velusamy, founder, Kovai BSF, on exploring the buzz around Black Soldier Fly Larvae in animal nutrition. Ms. Velusamy is a business strategist in waste management with end-to-end operational excellence in Black Soldier Fly farming. An engineer by profession, she ventured into BSF farming in 2017 as a sustainable solution for waste processing. Ms. Velusamy also has an MBA from Birla Institute of Management and has completed a course in international business from Rouen Business School, France. She acquired a passion and knowledge for sustainable technology in the aqua industry during a 4-year stay in Singapore and eventually specialized in black soldier fly farming and post-harvest processing as a sustainable feed option for pet, aquaculture and poultry industries. After the break.
In the orchestra of life, each creature plays a part. At Sapience, we see the web of life, where the health of animals reverberates through ecosystems and societies. With innovative technologies, we're redefining the future of agribusiness, sustainably enhancing productivity and profitability. We don't just dream of a better future, we make it. Food safety, quality, and security. These aren't just words, they're our mission. We're Sapience, and we're committed to healthier animals because we believe in healthier living. Be a part of our melody, and together, let's compose a better world. For more information about our products and solutions, log into sapienceagri.com.
Good morning, Mr. Velusamy, and welcome to IPR Radio.
Hi, Mr. Sanjay. It's a pleasure to join you today with this broadcast.
Thank you for coming. There's a lot of action happening, a lot of research happening, a lot of talk happening on the use of black soldier fly larvae as an alternative source of protein. So it's interesting to have you on the show today, and I'd like to ask you a few questions in that context. So you describe yourself as a strategist in wet waste management. Can you please explain what this is and tell us how this impacts the animal agriculture sector?
Okay. Myself into waste processing, especially wet waste, we do it using BSFL. So that is the difference from the traditional processing method. So BSFL has two sides of it. One is like it is I can even call that as a machine by itself, which can process wet waste very efficiently, which we have experienced for past 5 years. And in the other end, we have a biomass also, like generated out of this process as a larvae, which we want to get used in agricultural sector, especially as an animal feed, which is like a straightforward progress for this, because larvae consumption is a natural source of feed for these animals over a million of years. Their gut is being already used with these insects in a very natural way. So it's nothing new to convert this biomass as a feed. So in one end, BSFL serves as a pain killer, like for our waste problem, especially in Indian scenario, where the mixed waste, mixed plastic and organic waste is creating a huge problem. Segregation is like, source segregation is like a must. And if we can solve the wet waste problem, most of the plastics will find its way towards recycling bin. That's what we understood. That's what we practically see. So, from the source, if we can solve or process the wet waste properly instead of getting mixed up with plastics, then it's a very, very crucial and important step towards our waste processing. So that is not happening in India right now properly, because the process is time consuming, the process doesn't give economical output, or the process involves a lot of energy, or the process is not like we couldn't repeat the process on a regular interval, because the accumulation of waste is on daily basis, and the process should be short and it should be consistent in the output what we are getting. So here we are employing BSFL. So that is one major point for us. It's not just BSFL is weird for or formed for feed. It's like one side only we are seeing it as a feed
Okay.
because we want to get the biomass used in a proper channel. In the
Mm-hmm.
other end, it's highly important for us to process these waste via BSFL because it shows such a versatility and extremely efficient in processing wet waste. So that is the reason we want to like this entire farming of BSFL involves both. So we have to take care of the wet waste processing, and we also have to process the biomass into a proper feed ingredient. In the other end, we have the compost also, which is like a biofertilizer directly used in agriculture. And when we talk about this compost, we also have to keep it in mind this entire scenario of agriculture, more focusing on NPK values on the fertilizing part is gradually shifting towards on the microbial side because people started and more and researches are happening and people started to understand the microbial load required. Though NPK is a major macronutrient, but the availability of microbes itself without even giving NPK directly, we can even there are studies that can be shows that we can tap it in atmosphere also. Nitrogen and nitrogen fixing bacteria, all those things, and there's science behind it. So BSFL is like three wing now. One is on the waste processing, and the other one is a biomass can be used right now immediately as a feed ingredient, and the compost can be used in agriculture. So nothing is going waste out of BSFL farm, and it totally process the waste, which we generate almost 1/3 of our production of whatever food produce we do is going as waste. So, totally a sustainable environment, a 360 view of sustainability comes into play with this BSFL industry.
Right, right. So how, I mean, since we are ultimately using BSFL in as an or we are kind of portraying it as an alternative protein source for aquaculture, for pets, and for the poultry sector, how does the nutritional profile of BSFL compare to the traditional feed sources that we have?
So, we always face this question of nutrition comparison, and especially in poultry segment. I'll talk about aqua and pet
Yeah.
later. So,
Mm.
when we talk about poultry sector, the immediate question is whether BSFL can be a replacement for the existing protein source that is soya.
So,
So I want to say these two are different protein as such. The soya
okay.
is a plant-based protein and BSFL is totally animal-based protein. The bioavailability is different. The protein percentage, we can't directly talk on the protein percentage, but the bioavailability plays a very important role. When you take aqua and when you see how things have moved forward in Western countries, replacing salmon feed with BSFL, almost 40% replacement has been achieved. So, where sustainability on wild caught fish is being looked upon, where the
Okay.
trend of
Okay.
aquaculture itself in world level is moving from a wild caught fishing into
Farmed.
inland fishing farm. So it is an absolute requirement. There is no point for aquaculture to catch wild caught fish and mix it in a feed and then feed it to an inland farming feed as a feed and then make this as an economical viable product. So that's where insect as such as a whole is playing an important role there on sustainability and making this an economical viable project. So same goes with pet segment, which is a niche, I would say. But saying all this, this would be a base. With all this, if we talk about nutritional value, I would replace BSFL or compare BSFL with fish meat rather than
Okay.
with soya or plant-based protein source. Why? Because of the omega level, it has a good level of omega. Though comparatively to fish, it can't be total replacement of fish meal because omega-3 is less. Omega-6 and 9 is ample with BSFL, at least to the test reports that we have from our farm-grown BSFL. The other point is uric acid presence. I would say BSFL would be one of the only source of animal nutrition, animal fatty acid which has uric acid. That's quite unique about BSFL oil. When we talk about uric acid, it goes directly proportional to the general health of the animal that is getting consumed. So there are various different aspects and nuances on the nutritional level for BSFL which need to be explored more than directly comparing on just on the protein level. So there we have a difference. So even if we talk about the AMPs, which is like a talking point for BSFL, antimicrobial peptides, very crucial for improving the resistance in animals in fighting against viral infections, which are like very commercially important aspects. Even if you consider shrimp or aqua, it's highly important aspects which need to be looked upon. So there, it can be a supplemental addition, very much economically viable, and gives a good economic prospect also to look into as a supplement of BSFL. So further studies are required. Even in AMP, we have to see whether it can be a complete inclusions or what is the percentile inclusions required. So on a whole, it's not just a protein replacement.
Mm-hmm.
There are deeper things involved for BSFL. Why I'm saying is the environment in which BSFL is grown, it processes waste. So it has so many bacterial loads, and it generates all these antimicrobial biomolecules to fight against it. So it gives a natural immunity. And these enzymes are in turn is taken into the feed for the higher animals. So the effect is and performance of BSFL is absolutely true actually, and that has been proven with the studies also. It is at par with fish meal, and in some cases it is superior to fish meal as well.
Okay. So since we're speaking about fish meal and BSFL, of course, soya is there also in the picture. So how would you rate the use of BSFL as a cost effective? How cost effective is it? Because we know that fish meal is not a very cost. It's expensive compared to soya and stuff. So therefore, how does BSFL compare?
As that's obviously what the industry is looking for, Sanjay, right now. To whether BSFL industry will address the requirement of poultry industry as far as soya is concerned on replacing soya, or whether it can help in at least in sterilized fish meal pricing level if we can reduce on that. So, to my understanding, as BSFL industry, processing industry of BSFL grows, BSFL product will be somewhere in between soya's price and the fish meal's price. It definitely won't go beyond fish meal's price, especially meal, BSFL meal I'm talking about. And, I really doubt whether it will fall below soya meal's price. Why I'm saying is because directly it's a long chain of production that is happening to achieve the BSFL meal. So stage-wise cost is also getting added. But when we go as a volume, as an industry, there can be some stages and steps where we can reduce efficiency, reduce the cost and bringing in efficiency, volume efficiency can be brought, but not below soya. Soya is like 2/3 of the feed industry protein level is being used in soya. I don't foresee that replacement will ever happen with the BSFL.
Right.
But BSFL addition will help in supplemental improvement. So even in poultry, there could be some level of inclusion of BSFL without impairing the cost or increasing on the FCR or increasing on the additional benefits that they gain. So I think that will match up as the industry goes.
We'll be back after a short commercial break.
That is a wake-up call against the growing shadow of antibiotic resistance over our poultry, our health, and our world. To fight this menace, Excelsio, a natural antibiotic-free performance enhancer, marshals an army of bacteriophages. each engineered by evolution to engage a specific bacterial adversary. Excelsior uses a cocktail of bacteriophages that protects your flock against various strains of Salmonella, E. coli, Clostridium perfringens, and Staphylococcus aureus. Excelsior is more than a product. It's our shield against antimicrobial resistance. It's our stand for a safer, healthier future. For more information about our products and solutions, log into sapiensagri.com.
So, how does the nutritional content of BSFL change during the life cycle? No, and how does it impact its suitability at for different animal species?
Right. BSFL, the lifespan of the larvae before we harvest that for feed is 15 days, 15 to 18 days. The harvesting starts in 12 days. So that's when the nutrition level or the protein level is higher. So that most of the players in the industry would be working around the 12th day to 15th day of harvest. So that is the reports we have with the higher uric acid and omega. And as I already mentioned, fatty acid profile can be tuned with the feed substrate that we are giving. So there is one more point I wanted to add. The pricing again, it also as the industry grows, it also may vary from which substrate we process the BSF because it matters. It matters and it reflects on the profile of BSF output also. So if you ask me whether there is a consistency, we can bring in consistency based on the substrate that is being in which it is being processed, and the price will also vary based on the substrate it gets processed. How as the feed industry looks at it, how we can bring that to a practical in purchasing terms could be challenging, and only days as the industry grows has to answer it. But yes, and the nutritional profile wise, there is a variance in stages of larvae harvest and also using the substrate which we harvest.
Right. So, does the inclusion of black soldier fly larva in the diet impact its taste and quality of the meat product? That is derived from these animals in the long run. So, does it impact that?
Yes, of course. The studies that has been done already, there are a variety of studies that has been done with the different livestock on how the BSFL is impacting on the palatability, on the taste and texture, firmness of the end product, end meat product. So if you see the hen's yolk color, where the yellow yolk color is preferred and highly marketable, comparing to country chickens, the yolk color improves with the BSFL inclusion. And you would be surprised to see just 2 to 3% inclusion of BSFL, dried BSFL in the bird's diet is giving that change. So that is one result we already got. And it increases the firmness of the meat. When the meat is becoming much more firmer than softer meat. So the BSFL inclusion is increasing the firmness. And in shrimp studies, it was even surprising to the scientists to note the taste of the shrimp is improving if you use the BSFL. So these are certain studies. There is one scientific option, like because of the presence of uric acid, the oxidative property of the meat gets reduced. Means like the shelf life will be significantly improved in the fresh meat. So these are very special aspects in terms of marketing the end product, which is being fed with this.
Right. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah. So, are there any known allergens or anti-nutritional factors associated with BSFL that kind of need to be addressed during feed processing?
When we talk about BSFL and when people know that it has been reared out of decaying substrates, always there is a notion built up whether there could be any allergies or side effects or some transmissions happen via BSFL diet. But the peculiar thing about BSFL's gut microbiota is that it nullifies most of the uh, problematic substance or bacterial compositions that gets transmitted, like E. coli or salmonella. Even BSFL is being researched for bioregeneration, means it can act upon heavy metals also. It gets nullified when it gets entered into BSFL's gut. So there is a huge difference of how we have been looking at the feed and how it is being done with BSFL. The normal terms are not acting, is not appropriate for BSFL to scale, to understand the feed. So that is a major research also that is going on, and these are the results already being got. Whichever is going out of the notorious things that is getting into BSFL's gut is getting nullified. Very surprising and uh, very curious creature, I must say. I just adore BSFL for its efficiency or for the things that it can do for humans. Very tiny creature, but look at the things that it can do. It can just nullify most of the harmful things that we feel we didn't find solution for it. So there, basically, is really remarkable, I must say. The one thing that is troubling as of feed formulators are concerned is the chitin level, which I can call as an anti-nutritional aspect of BSFL. Chitin has both plus and minus. Chitin is really good for antimicrobial with its antimicrobial property. So certain addition or certain level of inclusion of chitin really helps in fighting against this and keeping general health intact. But a higher level of chitin can cause digestive issues. So that need to be taken, at least that can be corrected in harvesting process, and also that need to be considered, and certain research can be done on processing level to how to nullify that. That can be, I believe that can be corrected in either in processing or in post-harvest methods.
Okay. 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 So, are there any potential, risks in using black soldier fly larvae, and then how can these risks be mitigated?
Risks, I would say it's like for any feed industry, the general maintenance, creating certain level of toxics in the process, it in storage level or in transit, happens with the BSFL also. It's a perishable product we are talking about. So those are the steps which we standardly handling the BSF and the end product of BSFL need to be addressed in the similar way which has been done in this traditional feedstock handling. So I would say that would be the risk factor associated with BSFL. Apart from that, there is no sort of, even in rearing part at least, people have this question consistently whether it could be a pest. It could be a pest for agriculture, or can it transmit disease like flies, house flies. But the best part with BSFL is it doesn't do. It doesn't do because BSFL, we have to understand how BSFL operates in the nature. So when there is a waste start getting decay, BSFL would be entering in the third or fourth stage of the decaying process, like heavily decaying waste matter. And it processes almost a variety of waste. Almost any decaying matter can be processed with BSFL after a certain level of fermentation and decay. But housefly or fruit flies for that matter, they tend to drop in the first level itself before even enzymatic decaying starts, before even bacterial decay process starts. So it hoppers on the fresh product itself, which is a consumable for human or livestock. But that is not being done with BSF. BSF requires a certain level of degree of processing in nature. So it never exploded beyond a certain level. The BSFL population never exploded at all. It is there in nature, already existing everywhere, but it never exploded like houseflies. It has its own control mechanism in nature. So it can only be multiplied using a controlled environment with as a sustainable farming method. It doesn't explode at all in nature. So that is the difference, vast difference between housefly and BSFL. And BSFL doesn't interact with humans at all. You can't see BSFL outside. You just can't see. You can see a larvae, but you can't see a fly at all in nature that easily, and compared
Okay.
to house flies. So that itself says why it hasn't happened, why it doesn't trigger certain transmissions. That would be the major reason, I would say.
Okay. Okay. So, are there any specific governmental regulations regarding the production and use of BSFL in animal feed? Are there currently any regulations?
As far as India is concerned, we don't have any regulations. BSFL is
Mm-hmm.
still almost 10 years back, uh, back compared to other world, where the BSFL has been commercial level units. Almost 6 to 7 years, they have reached to a very, very good stage. But for in India, it's still a small industry, nascent start is what is happening. Very, very countable number of commercial units are running. So we require regulations actually to expand this as an industry, and that has been also um, informed or given to as a proposal to government as well. But in India, we don't have any regulations. But in
Mm-hmm.
other world and Western countries, especially like EU and USA, we have regulations. EFCO has agreed for inclusion of BSFL for all the livestock except for cattle, for swine, poultry, and aqua, pet. All licenses have been approved, and the same goes with EU also. The only constraint difference I would say is that they have limitations in the substrate that can be used for BSFL rearing. Mainly, I think, and I conclude that maybe mainly because of the past history that they had with the animal um, segment, with all the difficulties that they faced. So the regulations still had to be worked upon or reworked, where people are also, scientists are also working deeply to make it a common substrate, like any substrate processed with BSFL approval is not yet there. It's just pre-consumer waste substrate is approved. The larvae grown from pre-consumer waste is approved. The post-consumer waste is not approved. As far as to EU and the AFCO is concerned. But in India, those pre-consumer waste are not waste at all for us. For us, everything that is consumable is already being used in the feed industry. So our main pain point is on the post-consumer waste. So that is where we are employing BSFL. So there is a difference, and lot more researches need to be done to rectify on the regulations. As far as my friends around the world, they do say they do understand how BSFL is getting processed, and they do know that the harmfulness of any substrate gets nullified with BSFL. So change in regulations is required and is being looked upon in future. So that will also happen because that is absolutely necessary because it majorly addresses the waste. It's not something that is getting used. There is no point if something is directly getting into feed. Feeding that to larvae and feeding the larvae to the feed is not economically viable. I would say then addressing the waste itself, which BSFL is very, very good at. So regulation changes will happen. That's what we are forced.
Okay. I'm sure you get the next question quite often, which is what are the challenges and opportunities in using BSFL in animal feed across species?
First challenge is on the volume that we can cater right now. It's not only in India, around the globe. The volume required for the feed industry couldn't be supplied with the basic industry, be it a 2 to 3% replacement of the existing proteins. So the first challenge is the volume of production, which will be addressed over the days where the industry grows, where we still sitting at a point where in Western countries it is a very high infrastructure based projects. BSFL operations or BSFL farming is very high infrastructure based. In India, we though we can do it in a very very economical way because of the favor that we get from our climatic conditions. Still, India it's a new industry. Still, machineries and processing equipments are need to be explored more. So there should be synergy, and it will be happening in the coming years. But at this stage, volume is one of the biggest concern, and with the volume, consistency with the product, with the nutritional level of BSFL is another key aspect that is getting attached, which is both of which are a challenge for BSFL. Price point, as I already said, it will fall in between fish meal and soya, so should be addressable. But these two, volume and consistency, would be a key challenge. As far as opportunity is concerned, all these challenges could be converted as an opportunity in the coming years, and we are looking forward to it.
Wonderful. So you mentioned during an earlier conversation that trials are still underway on the use of BSFL in the poultry sector for the poultry industry. So can you elaborate on this, because that's where the major concentration is? So can you
As far as Western countries are concerned, trials are already being in place. They have got the approval showing that BSFL, either as a supplement of 2 to 3% inclusion or as a replacement of a 15 to 22% of replacement, is totally okay, is viable also. Uh, but without any adverse effect, it is at par with the traditional nutrition or superior. So it's already been done, and the approvals are already in place. But in Indian scenario, trials are happening because for India, it's a new ingredient passage. So trials are happening within our national institutions, and outputs are still awaiting. Though I get the information that the outputs are exciting, especially in the general health maintenance of the birds and FCR and the meat quality, egg quality is there. So I'm also waiting for the proper release of the outputs and papers that is being studied over the years. The one thing I wanted to add is more than there are certain practical things. Instead of just looking into the nutrition aspects, what the test is, just directly taking the figures into formulations. The practical trials are giving us more suggestions, more wider information about, especially for BSFL, because the parameters and numbers have some restrictions. Is found to have some restriction when we see the practicality, how it performed in the trials. So that is what we have to consider, especially for BSFL, because it's totally new nutrition, unexplored nutrition for ages. There was no time in history where insect has been farmed in large scale and put into uses and applications. So more of the trial will give us more wide field of explorations in nutrition itself. We can really dig deeper into the nutrition aspects also. So that is where we have to concentrate on directly looking into the test. I just want to emphasize on that because it is absolutely important for us to get into the trials.
Thank you, Anupa, for this time that you've taken out to be with us. And we've had a wonderful discussion. I hope we see a lot more action on this front in the days to come. And we need to see how this really impacts the industry going forward. Thank you so much. And we hope to be in touch with you and have you back at a later date when there's a little more development has happened on this.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sanjoy, for this opportunity. I really appreciate the efforts that you have taken up to bring in podcast into poultry sector, and this is something revolutionary for this industry. I would say not many is happening in par with the moving technological advancements. So we really thank you for this opportunity, and it's a good platform for me also to explain about BSFL, and the questionnaires that you had is really provoking and helps in giving the knowledge exactly what is required to the feed industry. So thank you so much for this session. It's a pleasure to have you and interacting with you, and looking forward to future of this also to explain more about BSFL.
Right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjay. Thank you. Bye.
To be notified of upcoming podcasts, like and subscribe our YouTube channel at IPR Radio today.